radio listeners, you are listening to 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair. I'm Kenny Horn.
And I'm Kyle Pepitone, and you're now tuned in to the Morning Buzz.
Well, kinda.
Every Friday during the summer, we're going to give you a compilation show of the Morning Buzz over the course of the last week.
We have it all, everything from the pressing news stories all the way to the weird and funny news that will be sure to give you a good laugh.
We will even replay interviews that aired, so you have another chance to listen in.
We'll even be posting this show to YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more.
So go ahead and treat yourself. Sit back, relax, and grab that extra donut, and listen to the best of the Morning Buzz.
Donuts.
This is Kenny Horn at WMSC, and I am currently joined by famous still photographer Clay Enos. He has worked on a lot of films and done a lot of other work with just normal photography and been pretty much everywhere. Clay, thank you for sitting it down with us, and the reason that we're having you on right now is because you recently worked on Army of the Dead with Zack Snyder. Can you tell me about what it was like working on Army of the Dead compared to other of the films that you've worked on with him?
This is the first time. First of all, thank you for having me. But to answer your question, this is the first time Zach was DP, and as well as director. DP being director of photography, the cinematographer, and so he was just on all the time. I mean, he's normally energetic, effervescent, just spirited director. But this just allowed him. It really felt like we were in some sort of movie camp. A lot of returning crew, all of it. It's like family. And the environment was amazing. We shot in Netflix's studios in Albuquerque and then in Atlantic City. So it was just a ton of fun. And it had been a while, and after the sort of struggles and frustrations of Justice League, it was just great seeing Zach back at it. Not only was he the DP too, he was an operator, meaning he was holding a camera, right? So John Clothier was the A camera operator and Zach was the B camera. Not that there was much distinction, but and John Clothier has worked with us since Watchmen, just like me. Anyway, it was just a ton of fun. That movie is fun, and it from start to finish. So it's kind of nice having been there at the beginning and then watching it last week. Really, really kind of putting a bookend on a fantastic experience.
Yeah, I haven't gotten the chance to watch it yet. But can you tell me a little bit about those struggles with Justice League? You mentioned them briefly.
Well, they're well documented. I think the Vanity Fair article probably does the best job.
Yeah.
But while filmmaking, or let's just say the movies in general, everybody brings a very personal approach. They have their favorite movies. These stories resonate within us. But for people who make movies, there's another layer. You give your time and your energy, years of your life in some cases, to a project, and when it gets sort of violated or dismissed, or the corporates, and I don't mean to blame anybody, there's any number of factors, but when the project doesn't go as planned, it can feel personal, and in this case it was quite personal. So a lot of us felt insulted and frustrated, but ultimately there was vindication, and Zack Snyder's Justice League exists, and it's a masterpiece. Look, and even if that's not your genre, right? And a lot of people don't like superhero films. It's sort of an undeniable effort of filmmaking. There are shots in there. There's such attention to detail that whether you care or not about the Flash, it's still an impressive bit of workmanship, of artistic endeavor, of storytelling, and I think that's really what is we're all feeling vindicated, that it exists in the world now, and everyone can sort of judge it for themselves. Again, genre aside, the film is quite something and really satisfying to watch for those of us who made it.
Yeah. Speaking of artistic ability and what he was able to do with that, I want to talk a little bit more about your work. And the opening title sequence of Army of the Dead that just came out includes your classic photo shoot style with handmade backdrop. How did this come about, and how much fun was this to see in the film?
That was those photos. Well, like they're holding photos, right? So he's got this Irving pen. Zach had this Irving pen backdrop made. And those are actually filmed, those are filmed events, right? So we're dollying in on them holding photos. Those photos are ones that I made, but they're kind of props within that larger world. I think Zach and I both love that Irving Penn style, that sort of, I don't know if it's a kind of acknowledgement of the medium. And they were fun to make. You know, they're sometimes very stressful to make. There's one of the, like the soccer mom who sort of finds her fate in that title sequence, you know, shooting with natural light at sunset. And that kind of thing. And a lot of times we were rushing to get those shots. So there was a lot more stress making them than when I saw them in the movie. That happens a lot. You know, if it's freezing cold, sometimes I remember the scene more than if I wasn't. Anyway, you know, it's very self-referential, that title sequence, and I like that kind of thing. Zach and I both like that kind of thing. But I'm you know, being a still photographer, referencing an Irving Penn aesthetic is super satisfying and kind of fun to be part of.
Yeah.
But also, just so much more work than you see in the movie too.
Yeah, and I bet one of the benefits of being a still photographer is that you can release books of just the pictures and stuff like that. And I know you've done that a lot with other films and other things that you've worked on. Is there going to be something like that for Army of the Dead?
Yeah, there is. I think it comes out June 1st. Now, of course, I don't release those, right? My contract is such that I don't really own the pictures. They're owned by the studios.
Yeah.
But the filmmakers decided to work with with Titan, a publisher they've made a lot of books with, and they've put something together that should be really fun to look at, with a bunch of behind the scenes photos and what have you. Even Netflix, you know, they have a Creating an Army of the Dead little featurette that's on the service right now. And they used my photos a ton inside that documentary, which was really satisfying. You know, a lot of times I make far more photos than anybody ever really sees, but Netflix seems quite clever, and their service is such, and their audience is such, that they can find photos and serve them to all the various constituents that are, you know, subscribed to their site. It's super cool. So book's great, but also the service itself is using my images, and that's fun.
Yeah. Where else are your pictures being put out? You mentioned Netflix
Gosh.
books, but where else?
You know, I saw that Zach and I both use Vero, True Social, the kind of ad-free, algorithm-free, data mining-free social network, and that he's been sharing some of my images there. That's really fun. And you know, his style in this film was super lensy and very shallow depth of field, and so I mimicked that as best I could with my camera and my lenses. So the images that he's shared so far sort of share some of those qualities. Really satisfying, and I think that's the primary place. Of course, all the fan sites and what have you, they trickle out in a million different ways. The conduits for image distribution are way beyond my pay scale, though, I must say. I make them. I don't know how they end up out there.
I want to circle back a little bit back to Justice League that we briefly talked about. We talked about how great it is for it to be a thing, because there was a lot of problems with it. But how does it feel for it to finally see it actually come to fruition?
Well, as I mentioned, it is really satisfying. Again, these are personal things. I've known Deborah Snyder since freshman year of college, you know, just random encounter, and we've been friends ever since. And so that kind of connection to the filmmakers and to a project is important. You know, for me, it's important. And in a perfect world, I would only work for Zach, right? If I was sufficiently financially independent, that's what I would do. And because, as I said, it's like working for friends. You know, college is the closest analogy, actually, that I can make to what it's like working with them. You know, when you've got a project and if I was back in film school, that's kind of what it feels like with just a bigger budget. Instead of having to work in the cafeteria as I did, or at the equipment cage, we've got, you know, millions of dollars to play with, and off they go. That said, you know, I am a very small part in this thing. I am the still photographer. I'm kind of the witness to the entire process. I don't actually make the movie. I make my little contributions, but ultimately I'm the fly on the wall for the fans. I'm the first layer of the marketing messages. So it could be disappointing, or I could be sort of ego beaten, that I'm not really important. But because I have this personal connection and I'm friends with the filmmakers, I give it my all, and I kind of ride the waves with them. And of course, when Justice League was destroyed by Joss Whedon and friends, we were hurt. Now we're not. Now I think the world can see that there was another story, and a more respectful story, a deeper story, a more nuanced story, and off we go.
Would you be able to tell me more about your friendship with Zach? Because that's the thing that's striking me right now, and I really like to hear that.
Well, look, I mean, the guy is like a charisma bomb. Obviously, I come circuitously, or not so circuitously, through his wife, right? So knowing each other since college, and that's a long time now. I graduated in 1991. So I've been I was in the hospital when her children were born and that kind of stuff. So we're a tight knit group, a best of friends. And so meeting Zach, I remember actually the first time I spoke with him, it was coming out of the theater after watching his remake of Dawn of the Dead, and just hearing his voice and hearing his kind of sincerity and charm as I congratulated him on such a fun movie. And then meeting him later, I think we ended up on the set of 300, and that's where I even first saw that there was a still photography gig available for photographers. And it's been just being on set with him, like he's such a lovely person, such a creative force, such a attentive and considerate person. It's kind of hard not to like him. And then you combine that with Deborah, and off we go. It's hard to describe a friendship, that's been 15 years in the making, but it's sincere. It's I miss them because I live in New York and they live in Los Angeles. When we work together every day on a movie, and then all of a sudden we disappear, we separate. It's always kind of bittersweet and sad. And then you talking to them on the phone or whatever, you pine for the next project.
Speaking of other projects, what are the next films that you're shooting?
Well, I'm sort of being fiscally irresponsible and waiting for Zach's next project to get going.
That's a good way to do it.
I call it revenue-free living. That's what I'm involved in right now.
If you give an official name to it, it's okay.
Yeah, I don't like unemployed. I think revenue-free living kind of puts the emphasis on just going through your life and making sure you're still living just revenue-free. College kids should know a thing or two about that.
Oh, I'm a pro. I'm a pro at revenue-free living.
Don't get too used to it, but look, there is a freelancer is a feast or famine life, and you get used to it and you learn to save your money, which is always good advice for anybody. Buy some Bitcoin and stash it away, and then when things get lean, you've got a little cushion. I think that's how we go, and that allows me then to say wait for Zach's next project.
I like that you can really frame your career around your friendship. That seems like a point of success.
That when you put it that way, for sure. But I only was able to do that because I was kind of I was frugal, and I, instead of going to the bars, I'd buy a 40 and sit on the curb, with my buddies. save that money, right? And I've always been a traveler and an adventurer, and I've always sort of prioritized artistic endeavor over, say, wealth acquisition, but not being completely irresponsible. So I mean, there's a lot of nuance in there, but point being, at this point in my life, I'm 51. At some point you got to stop sort of sucking up to the man and decide that you need to have your life and to choose who you want to spend it with. I like to say that I'm sort of on the downhill of the roller coaster, the chunk of going up, where you sort of make some sacrifices, and it is what it is. But now I got my hands in the air, and I'm trying to enjoy the ride.
Yeah. I'd like to ask you about another relationship in your life. Your wife, Christine, she creates and makes jewelry. Creativity runs throughout your household. And what's it like
Yeah.
being married to someone that's just as equally creative as you are, but in a completely different field?
It's a ton of fun to live in a house where both of us are creative. I'm a little bit older than Christine, so she sometimes needs guidance. But since I've sort of lived the artistic life for most of my adult life, I can help her through some of those sort of lulls in your self-esteem or what have you, or sort of frustrations. But ultimately, they're worth it because the flexibility of schedules and of location dependency are lifted by because my work takes me places, and this way she can kind of take her tools and still be creative, still design, no matter where we are. So living two artists living together, um, it's not necessarily the stuff of sitcoms or of rom-coms, but it's we're making the best of it, and it's quite enjoyable.
It's a lot
I
of revenue
can't.
free living.
Yeah, it's a lot of revenue free living. Yeah, but it'd be different. I mean, if we were I've done the 9 to 5, right, which is really the 8 to 6 or more. It's important maybe to have some of that, but then if it isn't for you, to really eke it out. And being an artist isn't easy, but it can be deeply satisfying, psychically. And that we live in a world where a lot of people are sort of mentally damaged and beaten, and no shortage of that now after a year and a half of face diapers and what have you. So I think it's I think it's really important for folks to sort of evaluate where they want to be in their lives and make steps towards achieving that. And I don't mean that to be some sort of you know it's not impossible. Just stay focused.
Yeah.
I always say you take your passion and you blend it with patience and perseverance, and you should be able to outlast those who gave up.
Funny way to think about it, but I
don't be
really
the
like that.
don't be the guy to give up. Don't be the one giving up. Stay focused. Stay passionate, or feed your patience and passion, and feed your patience and perseverance with your passion. It doesn't always have to be in making the thing, right?
Yeah.
Kind of braid those three things together, and I think you'll be all right, and you'll be happy. You might not be rich, but you'll be happy.
That's the more important thing.
It's a cliche, but it's true.
It is true. We mentioned very briefly before Vero, something that you're a part of, and so is Zach. And can
Yeah.
you tell me more about being a social ambassador for that?
Yeah, I mean, we're friends with the guy who founded it or co-founded it, and to me, it just everyone's seen maybe the social dilemma, and everyone was talking about it, but no one changed a thing. Everybody, the network effect and the addictions of Instagram and Facebook and what have you, are so deep that I just decided I'm giving up Facebook. I'm going to abandon my Instagram, and I'm going to use this service that mimics my real life experience of friendship better than anything I've used. Your friends aren't an audience. Your friends are a resource, and your friends are an inspiration. And I think we need to return to those ideas. Everybody's distorted their experience of their lives through mediating and pretending and sharing, but really, it's Vero to me solves the problem of bringing true friendship and true social engagement into a digital realm, right, as best as possible. Obviously, the real thing is what you should really seek, and then Vero then mimics that the best of any of them. And look, it's free for now, right? And it would be free for anybody who signs up. Later on, it'd be subscription based, and I think we're going to see more of that from the other services. So get ready. Anyway, I think they're just ahead of the curve. It's really beautiful. It's elegant. It's smart. It is what it is. And I'm super anti Facebook and Instagram, and I don't know why more people aren't, but I understand the addictions.
Yeah, I like that you base it around friendship, and I think that's been a running theme throughout this whole talk that I've had with you and just your career. So thank you for sitting down with me, Clay. I had a great time talking to you.
Likewise. Well, all the best to you, and thanks for having me.
Do many of us know where our food is imported from or what products your favorite food brand uses? It was recently discovered by News 12 that some known baby food manufacturers have been found to contain high levels of potential toxic heavy metals, including lead, mercury, and a few others. It was announced by the FDA that they plan to propose a lower amount of lead and arsenic in baby food. However, it won't take effect until 2024 and will be voluntary to the companies. Getting these levels to zero may be difficult to achieve in the present time due to arsenic and other metals getting into food from soil and water. Now, what parent does not want to wish to keep their child safe? Kevin Loria and the American Academy of Pediatrics have a few tips for parents to keep their child safe. Kevin Loria of Consumer Reports has tested baby foods for nearly 10 years and expresses the importance of limiting the intake of the highest risk foods. Food like rice cereal, sweet potatoes, or juices like apple juice, grape juice. Some of these foods are good, but not to be consumed every day. The American Academy of Pediatrics suggests first is to avoid giving juice to children under 1. If older, it's best to get a medical professional's advice. Secondly, the consumption of rice cereal should be limited to 2 to 3 times a week. This is because rice contains high levels of arsenic. Another tip is to limit snacks like puffs or teething biscuits, as it contains high levels of metal. Overall, both Loria and the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends being aware of what a baby or child consumes, as some can leave a health impact on the child who's still developing. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I am, in my 20s, but I still love the puffs or the teething biscuits for babies. They're so good. So I'm really upset that they come and say that apparently they have a high concentration of metal. I don't know. What's your take on this, guys?
Well, I can honestly say I don't think I've had those since I was a baby, Daji, but maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just uncultured a little bit. I don't know. But I think just overall, it's so disturbing and saddening when all these foods that people love to eat are just, you read about them and they're so bad for you. Because I feel like I'm constantly reading articles about the food that I like, and I think it's like somewhat decently healthy. Like no one thinks that baby food is bad for you. Like it's usually made of good stuff. Like it's just crushed vegetables or fruits. Like how can that be bad for you, you think? But here is another case of us finding out that something that we love, that we think is good for us, turns out actually has some really bad stuff in it for us. So it's really disheartening in a sense,
Yeah.
because I feel like every day, like my dad loves to read about foods that I love that are apparently bad for me. For example, like peanut butter has some stuff that's really not good for you that my dad loves to tell me about. So he, tries to stop me from buying peanut butter, which really makes me upset because that's my favorite food. And it's just like another case of this. Isa, what do you think?
Honestly, for me, it's very surprising to see that children's food or like baby food is like one of those things that needs to be especially very clean, because these are little kids who have very either little to no immune systems or really any, I would say, strong functions in their like organisms. So they need like a lot of this clean, very like precise nutrients, and just to see that they have such heavy metals and like toxins in them is kind of disturbing. And furthermore, I feel it's unethical that this suddenly comes out now and it didn't come out earlier. Like I am aware just from visiting Europe, and I'm not promoting anything here, but from my travels and from my experiences in countries in Europe and in America, I see that like their food regulations are so much more different, if not cleaner. Because here in America, I'm not sure, are you aware, but I know that high fructose corn syrup is, for example, illegal in Poland and many other countries, while here in America it's legal and it's considered like I know I heard many controversial claims about it, that it's usually considered unhealthy, and it's banned in other countries, but it's allowed here. And in America, they allow a few unethical practices which really damage people's health, as opposed to in Europe. So for me, this is just shocking that how could they make something non-food or toxic like come into food? For me, it's just it's surprising. It's a little disheartening just to think that like a lot of companies might be just doing this for profit, or might be doing this simply just like to get the easy way out, as opposed to actually caring for citizens and everything, which is Yeah, it's a little heartbreaking.
Yeah, and to add on to that, even yellow number 5 and 6, which is like a food dye type of thing that's in a lot of the foods we eat today, it's banned in several European countries. And that's something that could potentially, like one of the causes, it could potentially lead to cancer if you have too much of it. And it's literally in so many foods. Like almost every cereal has yellow number 5 or 6. And it's so disheartening when you see that, oh, here are other countries taking initiative and who are trying to help their people, and then like the United States, where it's about money. It's like, oh, we got to sell it, we don't care about the effects, we don't care if we harm the rest of our people. Like, it's so sad in a sense.
It is
But
sad. It's a little shocking how Isa said that. You said Poland, right? That it's illegal to have high fructose
I'm aware
in
in
your
many
food.
countries in Europe it's illegal.
I need to move to Europe then because I have high fructose intolerance. So anything that has high fructose, I like crash. I cannot deal with that. So it is interesting how some countries deal with certain things. You know, they make it a priority. They even make it illegal. Like that's insane to me. Like I don't know. I feel like babies are our priority. They're literally our next generation. So it's like do we not want, people to coexist here? So it's interesting.
yeah, I'm really surprised. I've never heard of someone who's high fructose
Intolerant.
tolerant. Like, that's the first one.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
not fun.
but Dodgy, in a way, I do have to relate because I am sensitive to sugar as well. When I was younger, like I remember I would eat a lot of apples, a lot of like I would say things that have fructose, and then
Yeah.
I started getting very jittery after them. And over a while, like I stopped, and it stopped. And then when I tried eating fruit again, it did not go too well with me, just simply because I would almost have these tremors almost. And
Oh,
apparently, it's called insulin sensitivity or something. I don't have diabetes or anything. It just I'm more sensitive to sugar than not. So I feel that kind of runs along the same lines.
wow.
Mhm.
Well, for me, I just get intense pain on my lower right
Mm.
side because I have other medical conditions and it feels like somebody is stabbing me repeatedly.
Mm.
Like when I drink Coca-Cola, I cannot drink that. It makes me really like sick. Anything that has fructose, I even look in the back of the labels, and I'm not a big nutrition person, but
Mhm.
and on top of that, that's what they recommend. Look at that. Like for babies, look at what exactly you're giving your child and focus on the toxins, at least regulate it. Like don't give your child every day rice, what was it? Rice cereal? Which is also
Yes.
very good. I have a lot of little cousins, so I try baby foods, okay? But you
Yeah.
need to try it.
I remember when I was younger, what my since we are good old Polish people who make a lot of food, my grandmother, what she would do, she would take like for example an apple, like Macintosh apple, because they're like softer, and she would grate it for us, and she would give us like applesauce. She would make soups, like veggie soups, and then she would just blend them and she would give them to us, and they're homemade, natural, like great ingredients. She would give us a bone broth. It's like literally you when you throw in like a chicken bone into like a pot of water and you let it boil, add some spices. Apparently that is very healthy for you. It has many like vitamins and minerals. But she would make a lot of homemade things and she would just blend them for us. Like I remember we had crazy things blended for us, like actual human food, like soups, and like even I remember we had like a meat stew and she just blended for us and gave it to us. So like babies could eat a lot of things as long as I feel it's natural. It doesn't have any like it gives you enough nutrients, but it's so I feel easy to like give them homemade things if you don't necessarily trust the store-bought things. Just make sure it's easy to swallow and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just something as simple as buying like organic fruits or organic vegetables and just putting them in the blender. And I know personally that's what my mom used to do for me. And I think it worked out well. I mean, at the time, anyways, it's like you're a baby, so like you don't really know what you're eating anyways. So you can give them smushed peas, all those smushed vegetables that we might not love today. But to a baby, since they don't have many taste buds, it could taste amazing to them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just so crazy to think about also like reading this article now and knowing that we were once babies, how we probably were fed this same baby food at the time that had, metals in
Oh
it. So
dear,
it's
it's a
kind
lot
of like
scary.
like when you think about it, like we don't even know what's coming into our body, especially at that age. And even today, when you go out to eat, like you don't know the full story behind the food, and
You
that's kind of a
don't.
scary thing. And that's like a reason why I don't want to say I prefer to make my own food because I really don't cook that much, and I like to eat food a lot out because it's fun and you get to try a bunch of new things. But like at the end of the day, you really don't know what's going into that food, which
Yeah,
not
you don't.
the best thought or feeling.
If
So,
there's yeah, oh, if I could just add one like small thing, if there's any way that anything that I feel I took away, especially from my own personal interest in like wellness and nutrition and how I got into like training and like knowing how the body works, if there's one thing I took away, like it all boils down to like simple truths, like drink water, eat whole foods, don't eat processed stuff, no matter what it is, no matter what diet you're on. Just like try to focus on whole foods, try to focus on foods that maybe aren't like sprayed with many pesticides or anything, and just like be active, focus on the simple stuff, like, and then you'll be healthy, you'll be fine. You don't have to like think about like, oh, this, that, like, is this product better, oh, this one's organic, this one's this one's that. Just focus on simple whole foods that are like maybe locally grown, that you know it's not gonna do anything bad.
so stay away from cup noodle soup is what you're saying.
Unfortunately,
Unfortunately.
occasionally I would say it's fine, but on a daily basis it could potentially have a negative effect on your health.
Oh, I was gonna say, Daji, at least like with foods that are high in fructose, like you mentioned Coca-Cola, like that's something that a lot of Americans, well, I'm specifically saying America because I don't really know other countries as well, but I know a lot of Americans love Coca-Cola and they're addicted to it. And here's something that's really bad for your body. So on the bright side, is keeping you away from intaking some of these really unhealthy products too.
Yeah, I
You gotta think
guess.
positive. That's what you just gotta try to think
Yeah, but sometimes you
optimistically.
want that with peaks
I
on the
know,
side,
but
you
like
know?
you got Daji, you gotta work with me here. You're not having as many high intake sugar drinks. Like those are the biggest waste of calories in my opinion. And even though every now and then, especially during the summer, like on a hot day, after like a really long hike or walk, it's like like a nice Coca-Cola. But hey, at the end of the day, it's not doing anything for your body. It's just making you like break out in your face and putting a lot of sugar into your body, which isn't good for you. So
You're
And
right, yeah.
think of it
honestly,
as a blessing.
I must say too, Daji, like it's actually much easier to substitute with something that tastes so much better. Like for me, I remember when I was younger, I had an obsession with ginger ale until it started hurting my stomach and I started feeling weird after it. So what I did instead, I took seltzer water. Ooh, the horrible tasting seltzer
I
water.
love seltzer
And
water.
then I brewed myself, this was during the summer, I brewed myself some Polish tea. And if anyone has tried Polish tea out there, they have amazing flavors. They have like berry, they have like rose flavored, and they're nice and sweet flavors, but it's not actually sweetened. It's just like the dried fruit and the dried herbs. So I would brew myself some of that tea and I would add some of the seltzer water to it, sweeten it maybe with a little bit of honey or lemon, and it's sweet on its own. And you could try that or add a little bit of stevia. And yeah, I personally really like stevia. Some people don't like the aftertaste, but I know it's like a 0-calorie sweetener. And you could add that and drink it, and it sometimes tastes much better than soda. Or like if you have a cinnamon tea, that tastes completely like soda because it's sweet on its own, and you could just add that to add some seltzer to that, and it's like a healthy version of soda. Like I've tried it, and I think it's awesome.
It sounds good. Now I want some. So sad.
No high fructose corn syrup, no anything. Like you could enjoy it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
that's
does. It sounds good.
it does sound good. I'm trying to think, like, do I have any healthy alternatives for when I want soda? Yeah, like honestly, I'm a big water person. Like I have my big water bottle right here to keep me hydrated. But
Yeah, I think it's time for each person to go and say their final spiel, their last words. I mean, whoever would like to go first, it's totally up to you, but this is your final time on air, guys. Yeah,
George, you're
George?
up.
All right, so I don't know how long it's going to be, but I'll just give the most important spiel. If you want something bad enough, you got to fight for it. And you guys know what I'm going through. You guys know all the stuff that's going on, and I'm going to work for it, and that's what I'm going to do. You know, it's been a long 7 months since I checked into the hospital. And I have gotten better. You know, my cancer is in remission as of now. However, it needs to be cured. Yeah, I know. I'm still happy that it is. You know, I mean, I came a long way. You have no idea how sick I was back in October, November. Like it was, it wasn't a pretty sight. But I want you guys to know that cancer will never ever run me, control me, define me, because I I know for a fact that I I showed enough bravery and resilience to keep going. And you know, I love this station. I can't wait to be back. And you guys just made it all worth the while. So thank you so much. And I can't wait to see you guys again.
So I certainly didn't deal with the struggles that George has. I can put that easily down on paper, but you know, we all have our struggles. We've all dealt with, you know, a myriad of things. You don't know what everyone else is dealing with. But I think he put it well, where you just don't give up, keep going. You can do anything. I mean, I dropped out of college, took 2 years before I came to and transferred to Montclair. I changed my major twice now. I still finish college, you know, like I'm clearly walking next week. Dealt with plenty of mental health issues, but you know, I did what I could. Some days you do the bare minimum, and that's the best you can do. Other days you're able to work your butt off and really feel like you've accomplished something. So I think, you know, now that we've graduated, and for those who will eventually graduate, I mean, you can accomplish anything within reason. Like you can't fly to the moon, you know, with a pair of wings. Like Icarus kind of proved that. But I think if you put your mind to it, if you really try and you reach out to people in your life and others around you who can help, I think all of us can do whatever we really set our sights on.
Well, first I want to say thank you, Kai and Kenny, for hosting this today. It was lovely to like come back and kind of talk to everyone again after the semester ended. It was weird. It kind of, you know, I still feel like I'm in the mindset of like, oh, I'm going to go back in the fall, and then you realize like now you're done, and you know, I kind of hit me the last week that like, oh my gosh, I'm also done with radio. You know, now being a part of WMSC, it's weird, and I just want to thank you guys. You know, it was a big part of my last year at Montclair, especially being on the SMT, and I'm glad that I met so many people. I learned a lot, even being virtual, and you know, it was cool. Now I can say I was part of the best station in the nation. So that's awesome.
Well, everyone's been saying, you know, the things that they've been saying really makes me just think about all the experiences I've had and how it's shaped my life. And I wish I knew we were going to be playing little clips of stuff, because I would have sent this to you guys to play on air. Because so in my sophomore year, I made a film, because I'm a film major, and it was about. I say it's based on a true story because I think it makes it sound a little more appealing. But the movie was about a graveyard shift DJ, which I was, and he ends up taking he wants these song requests, and he ends up turning into sort of an advice hotline, and it features Josh as the station manager in the movie. And my favorite part of the movie. So I think I'd love for you guys to check it out. I'm going to put it in the little Zoom chat, and I was supposed to send it to Annabella anyways. But you guys, I think you would like it. If you want to see Josh act as the station manager, it's hilarious. But that's what's so interesting to me is I think about that all the time. I sort of took my own life experiences and chronicled them into a movie. And that's kind of how I approach my filmmaking anyways. But just the fact that my own time and what I've done at the station shaped my life enough that I can go and make a movie about it, That's what's so crazy to me, the size of the impact that my time here has had, and I'm so thankful for it. Thank you so much, guys.
So anyway, I think what I've learned from this, or what I'm grateful for, is the opportunities that WMSC has given. I remember I started out as just like, it's like a little guest on the newsroom with Stephen and AJ and Lewis. So shout out to them. I'm forever going to be grateful for them giving me the opportunity. And, day by day, I was always confident, in talking on air. And then, I met Annabelle. She gave me the opportunity. And while I did, do things virtually from home, it taught me, that I'm capable of doing things that I never thought I'd be doing. I got to book 3 interviews with 3 of my favorite bands, and the reception that I got from it was amazing, because I never thought that I'd be interviewing people that I listened to since like my middle school days, that scene phase, we call it. And I'm always going to be grateful for you guys. I got to meet the most amazing people. Even during the year that we had, it's taught me that I got people that I can come to. People like Annabella, people like you, people like Josh, people like, Kenny,
Yes!
all you guys.
I'm important.
As many people I can shout out right now, but that's going to take like the whole hour. And yeah, I mean, that's it really. And, to George, I commend you. You've been so strong, and I'm gonna be praying for you and hope for the best for you, man. Because you're gonna kick Kansas' butt. You're gonna kick his butt. So from the bottom of my heart, I'm gonna be forever grateful for WMSC. I'm definitely gonna be wearing that stolen graduation, and hopefully that alumni takeover happens, because I do have in mind one more surprise guest for the station.
Hello.
Hello.
So my final words, I would say, 4 years. I mean, for some of us take longer, but 4 years, it's not that long of a time, So what I have to say is, if you want to do something, do it. Similar to what George said, you have to fight for it, you have to want it. But my take on that is to, live openly in that sense. I know I had some inhibitions my first couple of years, but that was just, adjusting. But if you really want something, you got to do it, and you can't feel stupid about it. This is a more sense of like production based, and even in, but it can translate to, more life focused. If you feel stupid, you're doing it right. It shows growth. You don't want to look back and feel like you're on the same plane that you were when you started. I look back at all the things we heard earlier, and I'm like, ooh, that's what I sound like. Especially freshman year, that stuff. I'm glad you didn't find anything from my show, The Island. Oof, I would have actually left the Zoom call. It's somewhere, but don't live with those inhibitions or regrets. Kind of just, you got to do it, and you got to do it big when you do it. If you want something, put all your energy into it. Obviously enough energy to live reasonably as well. Don't be consumed by it, but yeah, there's a balance. But I'm saying but a lot. Yeah, this is what happens when I don't know what to say off the cuff. Usually I'm pretty good at this whole improv things, but it always with the emotions. When you get the emotions involved, that's when I falter. Look at that video or that sound clip from freshman year. I didn't even know what I was saying. That's why there's so many takes. And there's probably so many of these kinds of recordings floating about in somewhere at the station. One computer, you'll find the Josh archive. But anyway, live
There's a Josh archive.
fully. I mean, among all the computers, probably.
Uh-huh.
Don't feel like, oh, I don't want to do that because I think I look dumb. Just do it, bro. Who cares? That's really the philosophy.
Dog.
Just do it, dog. Come on.
It's lit.
I don't know. I'm leaving that one in the past. Dog, I'm okay with.
So, Allie, this is your first newscast ever. I'm excited for you. All right. So, here you go with your newscast.
This news is brought to you by 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair.
All right, so let's get into the news. So first, President Joe Biden has some new incentives to get Americans vaccinated by Independence Day, including beer and sports tickets. NPR reports that on Wednesday, Biden announced a month of action to try and urge more American citizens to get vaccinated soon, preferably before July 4th. The efforts put forth by the Biden administration include a partnership with Anheuser-Busch, the company that owns Budweiser, and announced that it will buy Americans aged 21 and over a round of beer once Biden's goal is reached of getting 70% of the American population vaccinated. Along with the free beer, other incentives being offered by those who are vaccinated include free childcare coverage at more than 500 YMCAs across the country, and the MLB will be hosting vaccination sites and giving out free tickets to games as well. A very bad tropical storm hit the Philippines, leaving at least 3 dead and hundreds displaced. NPR reports that a tropical storm hit southern and central Philippines and has left 3 people dead and hundreds without homes. The storm, which was called Tropical Storm Dante, caused floods and landslides across the southwestern region of the country and had winds of up to 56 miles an hour. NPR reported that more than 45,000 people were affected by the storm across 89 different neighborhoods. A local Montclair 5th grader is pushing to make some changes at her elementary school. Patch.com reported that Layla Khan, an 11-year-old from Bradford Elementary School in Montclair, New Jersey, has started a petition for her school district to recognize Eid al-Fitr as a holiday. As of right now, there is no official day off for the holiday, and the school gives excused absences to those who need to skip school for the religious holidays not in the academic calendar. As of this morning, there are over 2,300 signatures on the change.org petition. And now it's time for an update on the weather. In Montclair, New Jersey, it currently feels like 61 degrees and is cloudy with occasional rain expected to end around 10 a.m. The high today is 77 degrees with a low of 66 degrees. And that is all for your news today.
Woo! That was good.
Fantastic. That was one of the best first newscasts I've ever heard. Good job. I see a lot in you. I feel like you'll do very well with this. Take it away.
Yes. So it's
the elephant in the room.
Really is the elephant in the room. So we've explored Tokyo, we've explored Americans and Asia, and now we are going to explore the wonderful country of China, as a herd of 15 wild elephants walked over 300 miles from a nature reserve in China in their mountainous areas and were approaching a major city of Kunming on Wednesday, as authorities rushed to try to keep them out of populated areas. An Asian elephant expert cited the incident was the longest distance migration of elephants recorded in China. They said it was possible their leader lacks experience and led the whole group astray. A task force of 360 people with 76 cars and 9 drones was tracking the elephants. Last week, the elephants walked and wandered around the streets of the town for 6 hours after residents were warned to stay indoors. Damage done by the elephants to the farmland is estimated at a 6.8 million yuan, which is $1.1 million US. That is wild. Get it? Because they're wild elephants. I'm going to show myself to the door.
No, I love me some good puns. I love a good pun, okay? I appreciate it. But, imagine looking out your window.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All you see is just... Boom. Boom. And they just see an elephant trunk reaching through the window trying to grab you.
That is the scariest sight to see, because it's not just one either. It is 15 of these giant elephants just casually doing their business in a town.
Do you know how long it must take elephants to travel 300 miles? They're huge. There's literally an expression named after their size, elephant in the room, because it's huge. Mm-hmm. It's not like they move fast.
Oh, no, Kenny. I feel like they do move pretty fast, no?
No.
I feel like they might have some turbos on there. They got that speed.
A turbo.
Yeah. Elephant turbo.
Yeah. They got the nitrous in the back.
Yeah. They go from 5 miles per hour to 7.
That would actually make a significant difference.
It would. It really would. But yeah, that is just so wild and out there that that's even a possibility.
How? And And I'm wondering what happened to the elephants? Does it say?
No, it's just eventually I guess they just left the town. And that's pretty much it. They just went back to the nature reserve. But
Okay, so they were staying in a nature reserve and they escaped. Is that right?
yeah, they're just living in their own environment, and then they're like, "Yeah, we're good.
And
We're
you
gonna see
said
what's out there."
that they were being tracked, right?
They were being tracked by 76 cars and 9 drones.
Okay. Then why in the world did they not stop them on this 300-mile journey?
Right?
If
Like
they're just gonna grab them inside of a city where 1.1 million American dollars of damage is done. What? There are so many questions I have. I don't understand.
I think that's the funniest part is that they knew this was happening
They
for
knew
quite
it.
some time.
What
And
did
they're like,
they think was gonna happen?
they're like, well, they could keep walking. They're not hurting anybody.
What did they think was gonna happen? I am amazed. Everything. I'm amazed at everything about this. Allie, you've been quiet. Tell me, please, about the elephant in the room.
I want to know who brought out the Jumanji board and started playing over there.
Nice.
Yeah, that's just crazy to me. Again, how they didn't stop it. I feel like they had a lot of time to stop them, even though it was a lot of elephants. They could have taken them out one at a time or something over 300 miles. Yeah, I feel like they kind of gave up. I feel like that's my opinion. They just let the elephants do what they wanted because they gave up. I mean, if I saw a herd of elephants, I probably would give up too because I don't know how to control them. But
That's true. I think maybe that's the big point. Maybe
How
we
do you
kind of skimmed
move?
over that point. How do you stop 15
How do you
grown
move
elephants?
15? How did they move 15? Maybe this whole time they were planning on how to move all the elephants, right?
Yeah, in 100 days in advance. You know, they have to be 100 days ahead in order to stop the elephants.
100. Actually, I'd like to point out that we have a comment from Facebook from David Burns, who is the most loyal Morning Buzz watcher I've ever seen. He watches
David.
He watches it like every day from Cedar Hill, Texas. And he pointed out that Franklin D. Roosevelt actually coined the term 100 days.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it actually has a reason.
Well, I mean, it
Kind
has
of.
it has an origin.
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't have a reason to me. It has an origin. But how would you stop 15 elephants?
Politely, and you go, stop it. And then they stop. And then they go back.
Okay. Valid. Got valid there.
Mm-hmm. Just ask politely. You know, they're people too.
Yeah. You know, elephants are actually really smart.
Yeah, they are.
Maybe they understand. Do you know what I would do? A big net. The biggest net you can make. Just gather all of China's rope and just tie it all together and just start pulling.
That seems logical.
You might need 76 cars to pull it all the way. But...
and 9 drones.
Give air support.
You could also do the SpongeBob strategy where it's just take them and move them somewhere else.
We could just take them and move them somewhere else. How was that? I've never done a Patrick impression.
That wasn't
before.
too bad, I thought. Yeah, you know, maybe without the mask, it would sound a little better, but, you know, it was pretty good.
Patrick was the one to say that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It seems like a Patrick kind of quote.
Definitely a Patrick quote.
Yeah. Allie, what are you thinking?
I think if I were to stop 15 elephants, I don't know what I would do. I would make a trail of peanuts back to their farmland and hope they would just follow the food. Or I would get a big net seems logical to me, or like a lasso them in.
Hey, yeehaw, let's do it. Ooh, I want a yeehaw sound effect now. I'm coming up with so many sound effect ideas right now.
Yeehaw.
Yeehaw! Sorry.
Is there a limited amount of sound effects that we can have on there, or is the options endless?
Not necessarily. I mean, we can make multiple pages. There are a bunch that I don't know. I'm thinking, do you want me to start a new segment where I just test out these sounds because I don't know what they sound like, and that's my
One a
excuse
day.
that's my excuse for playing just completely random things on air because I want to find out what they sound like. But every time I click it, it's gonna play over the air.
As long as it's not that Castaway song from the Backyardigans, I will be fine.
That's not in there. At least
Good.
I don't think it is. There's
Heard
one
that
called
song way too
Yagaboo
much.
Dibbity Ba Yeah Do. So
Oh, I know that sound.
I have no idea what.
I feel like it's played on a Thursday, Buzz. It's like the
Josh has probably played it before,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that'll be my first one I test. Now we will go to our final segment that I teased. Are you ready for it?
Ready
This
for it.
is Yagaboo Dibbly Ba Ya Do.
I knew it. I knew it.
I was not disappointed at
Nope.
all.
And that's the
Oh.
best description for that noise as
Yeah,
well.
funny thing is we have like a title for it on the screen, and it's so long that like I stop it at Yagaboo Dibbly Ba Ya Do. I stop it there because it keeps on going and it's like dot 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 and I can't read the rest of it.
Whoever typed it out was definitely laughing the whole time.
It was definitely Josh.
Yes.